Last week, Mr. Stoker liked our idea of writing a blog post about pets that need a home. He gave us a thumbs up and encouraging, "I knew you'd come up with something smart." On the second Wednesday in October, we got out of school 2 hours early for a teacher workday, and Cherish drives us back to the pet hut to meet with Claire. "That is a great idea," Claire says for the fourth time. She probably would have been enthusiastic if we'd offered to make mittens for the animals. She's good at making volunteers feel important. "Thank you," Wendy says. "We're so excited about this." "Are you going to do it on our website?" she asks. "If that's okay," Levi says. "Yeah, sure. That's a really great idea." Fifth time. "And I know exactly which animals you should feature first." "No, that's Lucy's job," Wendy says. "She has a theory." Claire raises her eyebrows. "Really?" "Do you mind?" I ask. "Not at all. I'll take any help I can get." She motions to the room of the dog kennels. Levi opens the door for me, probably just a habit. I take out my notebook with my formula. I know big dogs are harder to adopt, except for Chihuahuas, so I focus on the animals in the 8 kennels on the floor. My formula has variables for age, color, breed, and size. I walk by each kennel and read the attached clipboard to get the information I need. Claire, Levi, and Wendy follow me quietly, like they don't want to break my concentration. But the math is actually very simple. I don't even need to write anything down. The average wait time to be adopted is 12 days, so my formula starts with that, and I add or subtract based on the data I've collected. If the breed is a pit bull, I add 7 to the 12 days. A shepherd gets +4, and a Chihuahua gets 2 extra days. No other breed falls outside the standard deviation. Basically, they all get a +0. Wow, that's very scientific and mathematical. Well done, Lucy. For weight, big dogs over 60 pounds get a 2-day add, and 5 days are added for a black coat. No other color played a major factor in my calculations. Age has 2 criteria. If the dog is between 3 and 7 years old, I add 3 days. And if the animal is over 8 years old, I add a whopping 10 days. There's only one situation where I need to subtract any days. A dog less than 1 year old gets -4 days. "What is all that in your notebook?" Wendy asks. I close it. "Just some thoughts." "Where's Pie?" I ask, hoping Wendy won't ask any more questions. "He's at the vet," Claire says. "He needs exams and vaccinations before he'll be ready for adoption." That makes sense. According to my calculations, Pie wouldn't have been my chosen dog anyways. I walk back to the second kennel. "This dog." I point to the 110-pound, 6-year-old shepherd mix with mostly black fur and mismatched eyes. I don't have a variable for eye color, but I bet his uniqueness would scare some people. 12 days plus 4 days, because it's a shepherd, plus 2 days, because of his weight, plus 3 days, because of its age, plus 5 days, because he's a black coat, equals 26 days. "He got here 2 days ago," Claire says. I shrug. "I have a feeling he'll need help finding a home." It's not a feeling. It's a calculation. According to my math model, he will take 24 to 28 days to be adopted. That's longer than any other dog that is currently here. The lab mix in Kennel 8 has been at the shelter the longest, 18 days, but should be adopted between 16 and 20 days, or any day now. Pie should be between 11 and 15. "All right," Claire shrugs. "Let's take him in the play yard in the back. You can get to know Murphy." "This is going to be awesome," Wendy says, and Levi doesn't even disagree with her. The moment Claire opens the kennel door, Murphy transforms from quiet and still to loud and excited. She gives him an awkward bear hug while Levi slips a harness and leash on him. "Thanks," Claire says. "Wait, y'all fill out your volunteer forms, right?" She laughs, but I think she's being serious. This dog looks ready to maul someone. Attack. "Yep," Wendy answers for all of us. Murphy jumps up. His paws land on Claire's shoulders. She nudges him off with an elbow and a knee. Maybe math shouldn't be the only consideration when picking a dog to rescue. "Lucy, you look nervous," Claire says. "I'm okay." I fiddle with my lightning bolt charm. Murphy pulls against the leash. Claire has no choice but to follow him down the hall. Luckily, he's headed in the right direction. The play yard doesn't have much to play with except a chewed tennis ball. It's surrounded by a tall chain-link fence. The ground is a concrete pad. A weather-worn wooden bench that also has teeth marks notched out of the legs sits along the side. Claire closes the gate behind us. I feel trapped. Because I am. I tap my toe 3 times. Where did he come from? Wendy asks. He was surrendered, and an older woman was raising him, Claire answers. She lived in an apartment, and her husband died suddenly. She couldn't handle the dog on her own. Bless her heart. You poor thing, Wendy says, nuzzling the dog. I'll be right over there. Holler if you need me. Claire locks us in. Maybe I should see if there are new adoption forms that need to be entered into the computer. I turn to the gate, ready to run. Dogs are gross and coated in bacteria and parasites. Well, so are humans, but dogs also bite and maul, and they sense fear. They're practically mind readers. To Murphy, I probably appear to be a trembling toy. Stay, Levi says. He won't hurt you. I won't let him. I promise. Feeling wanted beats feeling safe, so I stay. Levi takes off Murphy's harness. The dog jumps from corner to corner like he's playing tag with invisible friends. I know what we need to write about this dog, Wendy says. Brain damage. He is not, Levi says. I try not to let the brain damage comment sting, but it does a little, right? Because that was mean. He's never going to sit still for a picture, Wendy says. She keeps patting her leg, trying to get him to come to her. Murphy's just excited. Give him a minute to calm down. Levi hangs his backpack on the fence post. He takes out his camera and a bow tie and a fedora. Are we playing dress-up? Wendy asks. The dog tries to snatch the hat from Levi's hand. I gasp and jump on the bench. Maybe I should go. I'm making him nervous. Since you're up there, you can hold the backdrop. Levi hands me a blue-green sheet, the color of the number 15, and we all wait for Murphy to relax. He finally lets Wendy pet his head. Good dog. It takes Levi 3 tries to get the bow tie on. Murphy doesn't care for the hat at all. Wendy backs out of the shop. Levi gets down on his knees to take a picture while I hold the sheet. The dog looks everywhere except at Levi until Wendy picks up the ratty tennis ball. She bounces at once, and Murphy is mesmerized. Then Wendy holds the ball next to Levi's head. I'm worried for Levi's safety. I'm not a good judge of dogs, but based on Murphy's drooling and intense focus, I guess he'd do anything, including decapitating my teammates, chewing their heads off, to get that ball. Got it, Levi says. Murphy is rewarded with attention from Levi, who rubs his belly, and the tennis ball from Wendy. After Claire comes back to get Murphy, she lets us use the office to work on our first blog post. Wendy does the typing. Eventually, we get down a description of Murphy, and Levi figured out how to upload the pictures. Claire reads the post and declares it perfect. Then she gives Wendy and Levi a hug. I slide out of the way to avoid contact. As we leave, I give Murphy a thumbs up. I hope math is good to you, boy. We'll see if it works out. Chapter 25. Only 27 hours after our post about Murphy goes up, he's adopted. Wendy acts like we saved the last black rhino from extinction. Calm down, Levi warns her before homeroom. We've helped one dog find a home, and Murphy only got adopted so quick because my mom put links to the Pet Hut blog all over her social media. We saved a life. Wendy sits on Levi's desk, her legs swinging back and forth. It's a no-kill shelter, he reminds her. Wendy shrugs. Still, without us, who knows how long poor Murphy would have suffered in that place. He wasn't suffering, Levi says. Maddie moans as she walks by. We're all suffering just listening to you 3. Then don't listen. And I looked at your website, Maddie says. It's a blog. Wendy corrects her. Whatever. Maddie continues. You had about 100 spelling mistakes, and you also... Cool, Levi says. I'm glad you checked it out. Nice to know you're a fan. Maddie does an exaggerated shiver. I'm not. She hesitates like she has more to say, but she doesn't. She rolls her eyes and walks over to Daniela. Anyway, Wendy says, we need to go back tonight and pick another dog. I'll get Cherish to drive us after school. She pulls out her phone to text her sister. I can't, I tell her. Why? Wendy asks. I have an appointment. An appointment I don't want to go to. Nana arranged an interview and a tour of NCASME, the high school for super smart math and science loving students. What appointment? Doctor, dentist, ortho? Wendy asks. Are you eating braces? You don't need to know everything, Levi says. If Lucy wants you to know, she'll tell you. Wendy sticks out her bottom lip, pretending to be hurt, or maybe it actually is a little bit hurt. Mr. Stoker claps his hands twice. You have less than a minute before the bell. Please find your seats. Levi, you can still go, right? Wendy asks as she gets up. I guess, but I'm only doing it for the dogs, not for you. Wendy smiles. Whatever. She shrugs and walks off. When I know she's out of hearing range, I lean toward Levi. Hey, were you on the math whiz last night? I assume it was him. The username was Levi123. He nods. Did you get all your questions answered? Yeah, Lightning Girl, I did. He takes it as homework and holds it up. See? Okay, let me know if you need... I don't finish my sentence. I will. Nana and Uncle Paul pick me up at 12. He's only in town for 2 days, and I can't believe this is how he wants to spend his afternoon. The ride to the academy takes 103 minutes, 14 left turns, 22 right turns, and 5 times of Nana telling me not to be nervous. After the first time, her words have the opposite effect. How many of you have a personal experience with that when someone says, don't be nervous, you get more nervous? You got this, genius, Uncle Paul says as we get out of the car. We follow Nana into a pretty white house with blue shutters, like the number 7. I would think it's just a house, except it has a sign in the yard that says, Admissions. Don't be nervous, Nana says again. We wait for our appointment in the living room. Uncle Paul points out all the science magazines perfectly arranged on the table. Hey, they could throw in one Sports Illustrated. What do they have against basketball and football? What about boxing? Did you know that's called the sweet science? Why? I asked. Got no idea. A woman wearing gray pants, kind of like the number 99, and a sweater with the NCASME logo, invites us into her office. She introduces herself as Cheryl McCleary, but she doesn't say if I should call her Cheryl or Miss McCleary. Have a seat, she says. I sit and I don't get up. Nana pats my knee like she's impressed. It doesn't last. 3.141592. I sit. The numbers retreat. Miss McCleary doesn't say anything about the OCD dance. Most adults don't, but she's also good at hiding her surprise. Maybe she's met kids like me before. Other students who have obsessive routines and patterns. I want to ask her, but can't think of a polite way to do so. Lucy, thank you so much for coming to visit our school, Miss McCleary begins. We're honored to have you consider us for your education. Thanks. I wish I knew whether she says this to every student. I've reviewed your homeschool records and your achievement tests. They're all very impressive. We don't have any grades from East Hamlin Middle yet. She pats the folder on her desk. Middle school has been a bit of an adjustment. Isn't it for everybody? Uncle Paul adds. It certainly can be. Students thrive in different environments. You can't expect a rose to bloom in the desert, but put the rose in a greenhouse with sunlight and water, and it will blossom. Miss McCleary stares at us, hoping we get the point. I give a slight nod. I love roses, Nana blurts out. Me too, Miss McCleary says with a smile. Lucy, do you need to use the bathroom, or would you like a drink before you begin the exam? What exam? I slide my lightning bolt charm back and forth on its chain. They want to see if you're smart enough, Nana says with a wink. She obviously knew about this part of the tour, but didn't bother to warn me. Thanks, Nana. You ace every test, Uncle Paul says. Nothing to worry about. It's our standard entrance exam, Miss McCleary adds. It's required of all students who do not come from traditional schools. It's 150 questions, all multiple choice, half are mathematics, the rest are science, vocabulary, and social science. You have 2 hours to complete it. So, do you need a restroom break? No. I look over at Nana. Her eyes are closed and her lips are moving. She's praying. I guess she really wants me to do well. Miss McCleary shows me to a conference room. The test booklet, 2 pencils, and scrap paper wait for me on the table. Nana and Uncle Paul stay in the office. I wonder what they'll do while I answer 150 questions. Multiple choice questions. I open a Clorox wipe and clean the table and pencils. Again, Miss McCleary acts like this is totally normal. Do you need anything else? She holds out her hand for the used wipe. No, thank you. Good luck, she says. In general, I don't mind tests. I find them boring, but not scary. Some kids panic. Spencer, the boy who sits next to me in science, panics. When we have a test, I can hear his breathing get fast. His leg bounces nonstop, and when he lifts his arm, he smells sweaty. I open the booklet. I look at my watch. I answer all the math questions. I look at my watch again. 11 minutes have passed. The rest of the test takes me less than an hour. About half the time is spent counting the words. I'm sure I get every question right. I debate going back and changing a few answers, but at this school, getting them all correct is probably the average. Not hiding my genius is like taking off a pair of sweaty old sneakers. It feels good now, but I don't think I'm ready to toss my sneakers. After the test, Miss McCleary gives us a tour. It's hard not to be impressed by the science labs with the shiny equipment or the 3D printers in the classroom, or the music room where I could learn to play the harp, or the coffee bar in the student center. Wendy would love a coffee bar. Obviously, we aren't your typical high school. We only cover 11th and 12th grades. We have a 100% graduation rate, all of our students go to college, and 92% receive at least partial scholarships. This is an awesome school, Uncle Paul whispers to me. Do you think I'm too old to apply, or just too dumb? I elbow him in the gut. This way, we follow Miss McCleary back to her office. A basket of Oreos, Pringles, and oranges sit on her desk, along with 4 bottles of water and 4 cans of Coke. Help yourself. I go for the Oreos. I'm opening the package when my phone chimes in my pocket. Sorry, I'll silence it. No worries. I have 2 teenage daughters, Miss McCleary says. I'll be right back. When she leaves, I pull out my phone. Wendy, what dog should we pick? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Is it an emergency, doctor? Nan asks, joking. To someone it is, I say. Wendy, Lucy, help! Me, Kennel 4. Kennel 4 holds a dog named Rufus, a brown pit bull estimated to be 4 or 5 years old and weighing 60 pounds. I calculated his adoption time to be 22 to 26 days. Wendy, Rufus? Me, yes. Unless there's a new dog over 8 years, black fur, weighing more than 60 pounds, and is mostly pit bull or shepherd. I wait for a response. Nope. Any chihuahuas? Chihuahuas are the only non-large breed that I calculated with a high adoption weight. They make the formula interesting. Wendy, we're going with Rufus. I should be there. If an old black chihuahua is available, it's not fair to go with Rufus. This theoretical dog is calculating at 29 to 33 days. I chew on my bottom lip as I debate calling Levi. You okay, Uncle Paul asks. I nod. Boy problems? No! When Miss McCleary steps back in the room, Nana hits my arm. I silence my phone and put it away. Do you have any questions? She asks. Not really. Plus my mouth is stuffed with Oreos. Does Lucy qualify? Nana asks. She earned a perfect test score, Miss McCleary says. This is not unheard of, but still, it's very impressive. Now Lucy will need to apply officially online. Okay, Nana says. I'd recommend you get this information in as soon as possible, within the next few weeks, ideally. We are opening 2 spots for January. This is a great opportunity. We don't generally allow students to begin mid-year. January? That's only 81 days away. Lucky for you, Luce, Uncle Paul smiles. When I don't smile back at him, he mouths. I shake my head. You have an excellent chance of being admitted. Miss McCleary reaches into her desk, pulls out a cap with NCASME on it, and hands it to me. I swallow the last Oreo. It goes down my throat like a baseball simile. I just started a new school. It was awful, and now it's not so awful. I don't know if I'm ready to do it all over again.